Cleveland faithful, welcome back on into the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. My name is Jeffrey. Robert back on the program once again. Browns draft. I mean, talk about a mega weekend. We're just going to riff here. We're going to go back and forth for as long as we can, until we're blue in the face. And then, we'll go on with our lives. But look, a mega weekend for Cleveland, even the Guardians. I know I didn't even prep you with some Guardians, but they have a doubleheader yesterday. You got the draft. You have round one of the playoffs with the Cavs going up 3-0. You have absolute mayhem in Green Bay with some of these draft selections. Probably one of the most entertaining drafts I've seen in a long, long time. Robert, initial thoughts on the draft. We're going to go through every player, but I just want to hear your initial thoughts, how you thought the weekend went, all thing Cleveland sports.
First of all, nephew, it's great to be back.
Yes.
It is great to be back. Thanks for having me back. It's been way too long. Yes, it was a fantastic weekend all the way around. Initial thoughts, I love trading out of two.
Yep.
We would have not known, and it's not I'm not using this as an excuse. Travis Hunter, it's a big job to be a wide receiver and to play defense. They've got their hands full in Jacksonville, and knowing the Browns, we'd screw it up. So doing what they did and getting that extra first round pick, I loved it. Okay. Now the Giants taking Abdul Carter, there's some people that I listen to and they're complaining, Mason Graham. I love that pick. I mean, I'm happy with that pick. What about you?
So you're right. Let's start with the trade. We'll start with the trade back because all along every different roadblock of media reporting, leaks, news, this and that. I mean, if you even take a rewind to probably Monday or Tuesday of last week, you're still thinking that Sanders is on the board for us at 2. So that's all you have. That's like the first thing that you have to remember about what transpired before this draft, halfway through this draft, and then the final result when everything, the dust has settled. Look, I totally agree with you. Trade out of 2. And this is how I broke it down to somebody who I work with. If let's say like a mid-level team was calling for pick number 2, like let's say it was, I don't know, but I'll tell you this: the Jaguars, the Raiders, and there was a couple of these franchises where I'm sitting there thinking, okay, out of all the teams in the league last year, these are the franchises who were less competent than us. That was my biggest thing. I don't think I've heard enough people talk about this, is that, okay, if you have someone like a Miami, like a mid-level team who you think is run better than the Browns, but had the will to move up for Hunter. Obviously, your top-end teams like the Eagles and the Chiefs and the Bills were never going to do that. But just think of a mediocre franchise who had a better year. Yes. I'm thinking, all right, the Jaguars, I think, are worse ran than us. Mm-hmm. I'm in for that trade. If the Raiders called, it would have been the same way. Take advantage of these teams that are worse off than you, believe it or not, when the Browns had 4 wins last year, 3 wins last year. So if it would have been somebody who I thought was a better ran organization than us, I would have been a little wary of making that trade because I don't know if we get as good of a package. I don't know if it's the right move. I totally agree with you. Hunter, they were going to this front office and coach staff was going to have Hunter playing both ways. He would have had lower body issues by week 5 or 6. And I don't think people really understand that how Hunter is actually supposed to be used in this next level, because to me, if I'm just coming from a pedestrian view, I'm running him as a wide receiver and then I'm using him as a cornerback if you have injuries.
Or you use him on special packages, maybe.
Yes.
Third down packages, passing plays, third and long.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he would be a specialty back. It's going to take.
Or how about this? Excuse me. How about this? What if you get up 21-7 at halftime and he has a touchdown catch, and then you flip in the second half, you have him on defensive possessions only? That's how I would use him.
Do you think that I heard one of the analysts say that the college game on the field is much faster than the NFL game. But do you think that he's going to be able to digest? And I'm not questioning his brain,
Right.
but do you think he's going to be able to digest Liam Cohn's offense and then their defense? I mean, you're asking a lot out of this young man. And I'm glad that we have nothing to do with it.
Me too.
Okay, I'm glad that we have nothing to do with it. Mason Graham was a pain in our ass, and that's what I know. I didn't like the son of a bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Well, it's very nice when the Browns draft guys in the Big Ten, because you're going to be partial to these guys regardless if they play, whoever they play for, if they play for Michigan. But it's like, you see these guys, you see their development through college, and you're 100% correct. He wrecked the Ohio State national championship Buckeyes in front of our eyes. We saw it live. I don't know how you could be upset with that pick. If you wanted Hunter, if you wanted Carter, and you're disappointed, I understand that from an argument perspective. But I felt like what was interesting to me was how they approached the offseason before this, because they pick up a defensive tackle, they pick up an edge, in the free agency market, and to still go with Graham. I thought it was the word I think that I got from you texting back and forth this weekend was that this was a very mature draft from the Browns. Yep. And it was pretty refreshing to see. I feel like we come on this, well, not the past couple of years, the last 3 years, because you don't have a first round pick. So, the intrigue isn't there as much, but it's like, all right, did Andrew Berry and the front office, for the most part, kind of grow up throughout this draft? I love the Mason Graham selection for sure.
Yes. And I felt, and we'll get to the third round pick here in a minute, I felt this was the best calculated draft, almost like DePodesta was in the closet, or he wasn't even involved, because it was like these boys grew up and they made smart, educated choices. Now we'll move on to pick 33. When they picked this Carson Schwesinger, we're like, who? Now, the first thing that came to my mind, and I think maybe we texted, there was a lot of text going back and forth, is maybe JOK's done, or he's more hurt. Before we even started digging into this kid's accolades, we're wondering about JOK. Okay, this pick here, this to me seems like a solid pick. What I've seen of this kid, and as the more I'm learning about this young man here, what do you have to say?
So just real quick, 3 seasons at UCLA, 38 career games, recorded 163 tackles, 12 tackles for losses, 5 sacks, 2 interceptions, 3 pass defense, and 1 forced fumble. Is there any other defensive metrics or statistics to be covered there? And this is being someone who went to school in the Western Pennsylvania area, who currently lives in the Western Pennsylvania area. The draft is always interesting to me because I know a lot of Steelers fans. And you know what I actually love to hear, believe it or not, it's been since I've known these people. They will text me after the Browns draft, I think that's a great pick. And I'm like, this is a guy that this is a guy that I thought like is right up the Steelers' alley, like a linebacker, kind of not as well known, but one of the smartest linebackers in the draft. Seems like he diagnoses coverages and is able to blitz and kind of drop back in coverage and do everything. I am concerned about the JOK aspect of it, because you would like for them to play together, but drafting this guy in the second round is not really a good sign. You had to sign some linebackers in free agency. What I did not hear a lot of people talk about is this position group this offseason for this team. I felt like outside of quarterback and maybe a little bit of wide receiver, even last year, the linebacking room was like the thinnest room out of everybody. And then after JOK went down, there was nothing there.
Okay. Now this is a great point, because Andrew Berry did not value linebackers very high.
He hates them.
He hates them. Remember, he got rid of Taki and a couple other guys. He does not value them very high. So does that mean that there's a shift in Berea? Does that mean that Schwartz has a more of a say so. Does that mean that they're going for the best available? Whatever that means, they're growing up, and this to me was a solid pick. Who made the pick? I don't know, but this did not seem like an Andrew Berry pick. When it was made, I'm like, a linebacker,
right?
Like I was surprised at Andrew Berry making that pick, but I'm happy.
Absolutely. No, this kid seems like a gamer. He seems smart, intelligent. And then if you want, like, what I think too has been a big issue with this defense is that you've had the rotating green dot on who's calling the plays. And obviously that should be JOK when healthy, but it's like, all right, it was John Johnson III, and then it was JOK, and then Thornhill, whoever it may be. If you want a cheap guy who is going to be able to learn and run this defense for his rookie contract, this is the way to do it. This is the smart, astute way to go about addressing that need. And this is what I thought was interesting for just the landscape of the draft, because even I said this after the first round. I believe that everybody in the AFC North went defensive line in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the general managers, the defensive coordinators, and the head coaches all got together for the Super Bowl. And don't get me wrong, I think you could overanalyze one game, especially the Super Bowl, and like put all your stock into it. With the AFC team getting dominated like that, I think everybody in the AFC was like, all right, they watched the Super Bowl and then they turned their scouting off for the rest of the offseason. Like, hey, go get linebackers, go get defensive linemen, and go get Mahomes on his ass, and hopefully you could win an AFC championship. Are the Browns there? Absolutely not. But if you want to have, building blocks and a foundation for that, for a team that scored 18 points a game, I thought I'd be more upset with the first two picks going defense. And it's like, all right, yeah, do you want to put everything into the Flacco fever and that he's just going to throw the ball deep and Judy's going to have, 7 or 8 touchdowns, another 1,500-yard season? No, that's not a great game plan for me either. But it's like, at the end of the day, maybe this is what they told Miles. Hey, we'll go defense, first couple of picks and sign right here. And he was like, okay, cool. You never know how these conversations go, but I was shocked they went defense, really.
Okay. I said this probably, I don't know, when we started. My philosophy all along has been you build, and this isn't, I learned this from reading from Super Bowl winning coaches. You build championship winning football teams from the defensive and offensive lines. Now, it's much easier to find an offensive lineman from the scrap heap later on in the round, sure, undrafted, but drafting defensive line and linebacker, to me, was absolutely, it was fantastic. That is to me, those two picks right there are an A plus if they work out. But with Barry, who knows? You can't get, you know what I'm saying? But I think so far I'm ecstatic. Now, you want to go on to pick 3, or are you?
I think what people have to understand before we go to Judkins is that at least I think the Carter pick would have been fine. Like, let's just say they go Carter, stay at 2 and go Carter, whatever. You already have the edge presence, though. Myles Garrett is the best edge player in the league. Alex Wright is on the come up. If he could stay healthy, he'll be serviceable. He's not going to be all pro or a Pro Bowler by any means. Don't get me wrong. How many times, though, do we look around and these teams are running the ball right up the middle on this defense? Mm-hmm. That's all you addressed. You put Graham in the middle and you put the Schwesinger behind him. Mm-hmm. Perfect for me. Okay, let's move on.
Okay. Obviously, everyone loves this pick. I mean, you cannot be upset with us drafting this Ohio State kid. He didn't fumble the ball. I think he's the better of the two backs. Do you agree with that?
I would say they were. Here's why I like this pick over Henderson, and I think they both are going to be good NFL running backs. I think Henderson has had more college mileage on him than Judkins.
Yes,
That's what I like. That's what I like more. Henderson might be a more explosive back in college. I think Judkins' game translates better to the NFL.
I agree. I agree with that. He hasn't been injured as much, correct? I think Travion has had some injuries.
Yep.
I'm drawing a blank now. At this pick, who did we pass over? Who went? Oh, and this is a tough one, but he didn't go Will Johnson, but who's another defensive guy.
Yep.
I would rather we needed Judkins much more than we needed Will Johnson.
Absolutely.
As much as I think Will Johnson is a steal, would have been a steal but he didn't go to like 47. There was somebody else at this pick that is.
There was a wide receiver, wasn't there?
Oh, there was two. There was Luther Burden, and who was the other guy that was still available? That.
Burden was intriguing. Who else went around this selection area? So we have, okay. Let's go back to round 2. This is a good question here. Judkins, Jaden Higgins, a lot of people liked. He went to Houston, and then Burden went 3 picks after Judkins.
Any other wide receivers go around there?
Not really. Trey Harris is the next wide receiver at 55.
Well, Luther Burden was a guy that I really liked, but Judkins I think is a solid pick. I think he's a Nick Chubb type of runner. He's going to be fine in that zone running scheme.
Yep.
And for the love of God, can we replace Pierre Strong? I mean, for the love of God, can we get rid of Pierre Strong now? I hope that this does not mean the end for Nick Chubb. I think that we still find a way to have Nick Chubb on this roster.
Really? Not this pick alone, but after the second running back selection that we made, I kind of think that unfortunately Chubb's time has maybe come to a conclusion.
You don't see a way that we keep the 3 of them and Jerome Ford's. Can you keep 4 backs? Who's your third down back? Dylan Sampson?
Ford.
Well, Ford.
Judkins first and second down, Ford third down, and then Sampson is running back 3. I don't know. Maybe you could get away with Chubb for nothing for like league min, but I don't know if that's disrespectful. Who knows where his camp is?
And incentives. You gotta load it up with incentives.
I think you're basically picking. I think if you're this front office, you have to pick between Ford and Chubb, and they're so analytical out of their mind, which I personally would not. If you came to me and said we're going to pick Chubb over Ford, I'm at least listening to that argument. This front office is Ford is this age and has less injuries, and he does. They'll go with Ford, pricing and everything over an injured Nick Chubb, even though it would be detrimental to the culture of the team, maybe, and the franchise as a whole.
Well, here's the thing. They're going to go with Ford because Ford will now fit the scheme again. You remember last year we had that buffoon Ken Dorsey, and nobody fit that scheme that he was running. So now Ford will do – I mean, they'll all do better this year, but it's sad that we're even discussing an option of picking Jerome Ford over Nick Chubb.
And I think that's another mature decision. I think they realized last year that Ford is not a 1. I think Ford's a lot better in a secondary role. So let Judkins be the main ball carrier and have Ford catch passes and, third and short, third and medium. That's fine.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, and don't get me wrong. I love this Judkins pick, and I love Sampson. Now, that Cam Scatterboo who went to the Giants, I think he's a good rah-rah pick. Is he fast enough? Is he going to be a guy for the Giants that's going to be is he going to be a Peyton Hillis? Is he going to be you know what I'm saying? Because we passed him over how many times?
I forgot he was I remember he was in the draft. What pick did he even go?
He went to the Giants in the 4th round.
105th. Okay.
Yeah. So and I mean, he's another guy that the city of Cleveland would have loved him.
Sure.
Right. But they're going to love Judkins, Ohio State.
Absolutely.
Blah, 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 blah. But I mean, Scadaboo's a hard running guy. He's going to run over you. That was my only trepidation there, but I'm happy with that pick. Anything else you have with that? Judkins should get 1,000 yards.
I totally agree. I know this offensive line isn't good, but that's why you draft the rookie. You're not asking some, experienced guy who's closing in on his 30s to, be elite. You let this guy be your workhorse and get I think if I had to bet right now, April 27th, I think Judkins ends the season next year with the most amount of carries out of everybody.
Well, and then you would throw a little pizza money on him in the running for rookie of the year, although
offensive rookie of the year,
rookie of the year. Although,
if you want to have one complaint about this draft outside of the whole Hunter debacle, and well, all right, here's where I would lead the complaints as far as like the masses trading out for Hunter. I think is one, regardless if me and you will like it or not. I think a lot of people are going to be upset about that, and it's going to be you know how this shit goes. It's going to be Hunter watch all year. They'll be blasting the Jaguar highlights all over Cleveland media when good for him if he has a rookie year. That's fine. We got an extra first rounder for him for the Jaguars. They're not a good run franchise. They're on a teeter-totter year. That they could go real sour for them real quick this upcoming season. That's number one. Number two, your biggest complaint is probably why are you drafting two quarterbacks, which we're going to get into after the tight end selection. Number three, my biggest complaint, if I had to be like the most, if I was the most pessimistic side about this draft, is that you didn't get a tackle or you didn't get any linemen. That'd be my biggest complaint.
Yes, because that was that's something that they know they need to address that.
They're old. They're Batonio, Teller, Conklin, Dwan Jones has been, unreliable so far. Like they're an injury-prone, older position group.
Well, but that means they're all coming back, and they're hoping to pick somebody up off the scrap heap. I mean,
right. You want to know what's interesting about this whole offseason really quickly here before we move into Fannin Jr. is how different does this draft look if Batonio retires?
Oh, well, then what are you doing there? I mean,
Zinter? You're just running Zinter out there? Well, is he a right guard or left guard? Don't matter, I guess.
I mean, you would have had to go.
That's your depth, is Zach Zinter on this line. And the swing tackle. They signed a tackle this offseason. I can't. It's escaping my mind.
Yeah.
Cornelius Lucas.
Yes.
So they did sign a tackle, I guess. I don't know this guy from Adam, but
I don't know what the hell.
Because Hudson went to the Giants. So they replaced, this is your James Hudson guy. They replaced him.
Yeah.
He has 38 career starts. He's not a nobody. 7 starts last year for the Commodes. But I mean, your offensive line depth before we go to the tight end is Cornelius Lucas and Zach Zinter. That's it.
Well, you're going to have to hope that you're going to have to, they're going to have to do the scouting department has got to be working hard now on some undrafted free agents.
Yep.
And they're going to have to, work hard because they're going to have to pick up somebody. I tell you that much, and hope to find that diamond in the rough.
Absolutely. All right, let's continue. I'm curious because we didn't talk a lot about this guy. So what do you have on this tight end from BGSU?
Okay, so now the intrigue is building. Okay, because at this point everybody's doing wellness checks on Mel Kiper Jr. He's hyperventilating. His blood pressure is through the roof. Shador is still available. What the hell are the Browns going to do? Where are the Steelers picking? Blah, 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 blah. Now, this right here is a perfect spot for the Browns to totally shit the bed and do something stupid. I mean, I'm thinking the Browns, it's a perfect spot for the Browns to do something stupid. And then we hear Harold Fannin Jr. And I'm like, holy mother of Jesus. Like, I'm thinking like they resurrected Marty Schottenheimer or Sam Retiglia. Somebody with the brain made this pick. I love this pick. This is a local boy. This kid right here is going to do nothing but be a hero. And here's what, listen, this is, if you remember, we forget, we're going to forget about this abortion of last year's offense. And remember what Stefanski loved. Kevin Stefanski loved the 12 or even the 13 personnel.
Yes.
We had Njoku. We had, was it Harrison Bryant?
Yes.
The other goofy guy, Hooper.
As soon as we picked this guy, I said the old Browns are back. Well, the old Browns, the 2020 old for the last 5 years, not the old Browns, but the old Stefanski offense is back. This guy is going to play the Harrison Bryant role, and he's way better.
Yes. Because here's, I'm thinking at 67. I'm thinking, oh God, are they going to take Milroe or are they going to do something stupid here? But this was such a refreshing pick. And this kid here, once again, this isn't the flashiest pick. This is a grown up football pick. And I don't think maybe DePodesta made this pick, but whoever made this pick, I think, I mean, this may be, I'm happy with this draft, but I love this kid. I am ecstatic. And I think this kid, I'm not going to get too excited and say he's going to be our next Ozzie Newsome, but I think this kid is going to be, they use this kid right. And if Njoku doesn't pout and he takes him under his wing, and remember, nephew, Stefanski loves this.
This is his best part of his offensive playbook, is drawing up plays for the second tight end. Hooper just could never catch the ball. Harrison Bryant was good. He had a couple of good for being. This is my thing too, because you have so many elements to this, which it's very, very interesting. Like you said, he's going to get a lot of flack because he went to Bowling Green. Oh, he had the best PFF grade, and he accounted for 75% of the offense. Well, yeah, out of context, that sounds amazing, and I get it. People go, Bowling Green. I understand. What I like about his little, statistical blurb, and once again, you have to take everything with a grain of salt here, but 36 career games, 180 receptions, 2,400 receiving yards, 17 touchdowns. He had 33 carries in college for 159 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. Number one, and I guess it is Bowling Green. I get it. Their level of talent. He probably isn't getting handoffs at Alabama. He probably is. How do you think he ends up at Bowling Green? He didn't have interest for a lot of these schools. Goes to BJSU, makes a name for himself. Look, lands in the perfect spot for me, in my opinion. You're the third, and to me, I'm rating offenses. Everything is won in offense in 2025 NFL football. So to me, the offensive weapons go as follows. Jerry Jeudy is your first option. Njoku is your second option. Personally, to me, Judkins is your third option, and then this guy is the fourth. Even if you want to say receiving threats, this guy is the third option. If a team drafted him where he would have to be the number one guy, I don't think it's a good fit.
Right.
So put him in this role his ceiling can only go up. You're not asking a lot for him. Right. Hopefully he could block, and then you go from there. But at the end of the day, I think that this is a smart move because it gets Stefanski back in that offensive rhythm that he likes to use. And truthfully, I think this pick, and you're going to disagree with me, I think this pick shows their hand that for right now, Flacco is the day one starter.
Okay, well, and we will get to that. I will disagree. Okay, back to Fannin. Tommy Rees, who's your OC, did a great job in Notre Dame with, I don't even know what the hell that kid, with the shit quarterback they had at the time.
Yep.
And he loves working with tight ends. Keep in mind, what you said, this kid carried the ball. You may see this kid line up at fullback. If he could block, imagine this kid lining up at fullback sometimes. I mean, I don't know, but just imagine
right up
that.
Stefanski's alley.
Right up Stefanski. So imagine Stefanski salivating on that. Before we get to who's starting day one, let's finish up on the.
Absolutely.
You don't want to talk about on day. You don't.
No. Day one is a long. Sanders was a top 3 prospect. This league moves fast, and and this is what I think people don't understand about. I think the modern NFL offense is pretty well calculated and and analyzed and scouted out. I think people are upset because we didn't draft a wide receiver, but you have these tight end guys who they're basically wide receiver tight end hybrids. They're wide receivers that can block. You see a lot of these good offenses in the league. Look at he's not like some huge guy. He looks like a wideout. He looks like Mike Evans. Or Travis Kelce's considered a tight end. He plays the game like a wide receiver. If you can have a competently run offensive scheme, there's Njoku puts up wide receiver numbers if you really think about it. But let's continue forward, because this is where if I had to grade the draft, this pick would hold me back from giving it like an A or an A plus in my opinion.
Absolutely.
What are they thinking here? Well, here's the thing. Let's do a little compare and contrast, I guess. Was this always the plan and then Sanders fell? Is that the mantra of what happened?
Oh, yeah. According to what I've read, what I've heard, absolutely. They had no plans on picking Shador, but when he fell after round 4, they just could not pass him up. What now? You want to talk about Gabriel first, or you want me to go?
You go.
Okay. What the Browns are, here's what evidently the Browns spent a ton of time with this kid.
Yep.
They coached against him and coached him at the Senior Bowl, and he made such an impression that this team fell in love with him. Now, here maybe is where DePodesta's influence steps in. This kid has played more college football, literally, than anybody ever. Okay? Literally, this kid has played 6 years of college football. Okay? Yep. So what I'm telling you here is, if the head scratching thing is why at 94? They love him. Nobody had him on the board. I mean, he wasn't. I mean, there was Milroe, there was Sanders, there was Shuck was gone by then. There was Howard, Riley Leonard, who I don't know, but all these quarterbacks, Dylan Gabriel was not even on there. So I think he would have probably been there at 194. That's the only thing. If they would have taken him at 194, so be it. But here's the thing. He is a perfect Stefanski quarterback. He throws in rhythm. He throws a good ball. When you watch him, and I said this all year last year, I hated him and Dan Lanning so damn much being in the Big Ten. By the end of the year, I liked both of them. He's just an annoying. He's a little. He seems like a little prick when he's out there. You want to kill the guy, but he's just. He's one of those guys that just gets it done. Will it translate? Who the hell knows? But they see something in this kid. Why they took a 3rd round shot? Did they think somebody else was going to step in? Maybe somebody else had hot nuts for him. Maybe somebody told them somebody else was visiting him as well. But real head scratcher there. And the size doesn't bother him. 5'11", Baker's 5, whatever. Left-handed. I don't know when the last left.
That's what I
Paul
don't get.
McDonald. I think Paul McDonald was the last left-handed quarterback we may have had.
It's that's the startling part too. Like everything just seems wrong about this selection. Like where it was, he's left-handed, he's short. I hate it for the AFC North. I get it. Like this seems like a guy that a competent franchise drafts because they're like, hey, you're going to be our backup for your rookie deal. Like Kansas City or somebody like that, where they don't want to go out and get a veteran. They don't need a whole lot. They're just going to draft this kid and sit him and just be like, all right, we need you to play a handful of snaps every year. If somebody, rolls an ankle or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're obsessed with this because they did this last year. This is 2 years in a row where it's like, all right, one off season, think about it, put it in the memory bank, hold on to it. They did this last year just differently. Winston. All right, here we go. Watson, Winston, DTR. They signed Tyler Huntley. You're like, what is going on here? There's no way. And I get it. You're the quarterback room. When you suck at it, you have FOMO, and you would rather overcompensate than it's training camp and you have no one. I actually understand that part of the logic, but it's like, to me, after the draft, and I cannot believe I'm even saying this, I think the knee-jerk reaction, even though I dislike this pick a lot, I think the knee-jerk reaction was signing Pickett. Out of everybody who is there, from my philosophical standpoint right now, start Flacco, cut or trade Pickett, let Gabriel and Shador battle it out for who's going to be the second and third stringer, and just go on with the season. And that is so weird because it's like, who drafts two rookie quarterbacks and then has, and they're both sitting there on the depth chart. But I think for me, if you want to talk about the runway of this franchise, and then you're still in the conversation for a quarterback pick early next year in the draft, it is very, very bizarre.
Well, I think that their Dylan Gabriel was their. Here's my speculation was Dylan Gabriel was their shot, we'll say, and we'll get into who you think or I think is going to start 2025, and then if Dylan Gabriel didn't, they probably would let him start the second half of 2025, and if he wasn't it, then you got 2 picks in the first round of 2026, right. and that's a better quarterback draft to try again. So the theory isn't bad, but I'm thinking that this team is trying to make a shot at making a run this year at least winning some games. I love the over 4.5 wins. I love it. I'm going to pound it. I love it. We'll get to that later.
It is juiced up, but I mean, you're like theoretically you're correct, because if Gabriel comes in as good, you're telling me there's not going to be a team halfway through the year that isn't, even if you get a 6th rounder for him, you could find some place for Shador, or the other way around. You don't think someone's going to be hurt and then you need a 2nd or 3rd string guy. You could trade one of these guys, and yeah, it sounds like you're trading a 3rd for a 5th or a 3rd for a 6th, but it's not like it's a complete bust. There's still guys on their rookie deals who could be good. They could be good NFL quarterbacks.
All 4 of those guys could have some value because it's getting close to day one, to the first game, and somebody's quarterback goes down. Somebody needs a backup.
Always.
And Flacco, Pickett, one of those guys will have value. I think both of the kids are going to make the roster, and one of the other 2 guys will end up being hurt or the odd man out.
Yep.
Maybe. So let's go on to Dylan Sampson, and then we'll finish the draft, and then we'll go on to the rest of the Browns here.
So here's what I'm looking at, and this is the first time I've really looked at this kid's bio. He was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think Barry is looking around at 126 and wondering how this guy's still on the board.
Yep.
It almost seems like, and this is something that the Browns would do, and it would backfire. And like, how maybe I'm just a novice to really following the draft super closely within the last maybe 5 or 6 years, but it's like I would never heard about this best player available stuff like even when I was in high school, like, 10, 12 years ago, I never heard about this until very, very recently. It almost seems like they kind of were like, hey, we're just going to pick whoever is there, regardless of who we even picked on this draft. Like, you take two quarterbacks, you already had a running back at this point, and then, hey, look, you're not going to have to convince me. If it's an SEC running back, I'm in. That's cool. Yeah. That's fine. That's cool with me.
Yeah. But he was just too good to pass up, and Barry, I'm glad they didn't just take an offensive lineman right there just because they needed him. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Don't reach. I think it's a solid pick. I think this kid, he's going to stay healthy. He's not going to put the ball on the ground. Can this be Biner and Mack from way back in the 80s, where these two kids are with us for a long time?
Yep.
Probably not, because after the 5 years, one of them will probably move out. But who knows? We can dream. Love that pick. I think how he fell, because he was quiet. Okay, there was a lot of high-profile running backs. This was a running back-heavy draft, and there was so much buzz around a lot of these other guys, and he just kind of was under the radar, and we were there to scoop him up.
To me, after this, and I like this pick too. Honestly, I think a lot controversial for a lot of these selections, but I could see where they're coming from on the upside in all of them, except for Gabriel, which we just talked about. For me, and what's interesting for the rest of this offseason and for the summer, and it's going to be hot topics to talk and cover, because you're going to have movement in the running back room. You really have to, unless they somehow bring Chubb back and we have 4 backs. You're going to have movement, and still there's going to be depth chart talking to who's going to be the starter or whatever. Quarterback, same thing. We just talked about this. This front office, to me, if you just look at these draft selections, the offseason homework they did was go to the Senior Bowl. Okay, that was, I thought, pretty apparent. Mm-hmm. Two, just sit there and watch the Super Bowl on repeat. And 3, go back to the 2020 season for the Browns and just watch all of those games.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple tight ends, handing the ball off to Chubb, then handing the ball off to Hunt. What's different? Judkins and this guy. Neither of these guys might be as good as Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt were in the NFL. I think, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying a tandem running back duo, 2 or 3 tight ends in there at all time. And at the end of the day, everybody knew, and I know the revisionist history is, oh my God, he was so good, and he was the leader, but it was really, at the end of the day, who cares what Baker does? Baker had 4. Me and you were in the same room. I do not, if my memory is serving me correctly, me and you were in the same room on Christmas Day when he's throwing all these interceptions against Green Bay, and we're vomiting all over the carpet. And we almost won that game.
Almost won that game. Yeah.
So who cares what Flacco's doing? Who cares if Shador has to play a spot start in week 8 or week 9 because Gabriel has the flu and Flacco's 50 years old and Kenny Pickett's in the UFL? It doesn't matter. And the bus. Hey, Shador, I've been calling up Gabriel. This is my first question for Gabriel and Shador in the interview. How comfortable are you handing the football off? Cool. All right, we'll take you. Am I off base here? Am I off base? It's the AFC North. It's not the 49ers. It's not Seattle. It's not Dallas in a dome. It's not Kansas City. You don't have a bunch of weapons. You don't have good weather. Hand the ball off and short passes to your tight ends who could make a man miss and are good in space. Is it really rocket science?
Nope. Not at all.
See, now you got me a little excited.
I got you excited there, and I love that.
Golly.
And the one thing I'll add, and the Browns and other teams are also starting to mimic Howie Roseman, the guy from Philadelphia. That guy he's been drafting defensive linemen. He's been drafting linebackers, offensive linemen. I mean, he built that team. They retooled on the fly after they won a Super Bowl with Doug Peterson somehow, right? and Carson, well, actually Nick Foles was the quarterback of that game, But regardless of all that, you're right. The run the ball with these two guys. We got to work on the offensive line. You got to keep it simple and get back to Stefanski. This is because here's the thing. That what now? Okay, I'm glad you got me. I'm glad you're worked up here. This is telling me that Haslam, and I don't mind this because you know what? They're all in on Stefanski. Because these are Stefanski type players.
Yes.
You're not going to, you know what I'm saying?
Which is bizarre because at the end of because it didn't feel like they liked Stefanski at all last year. But it's like, and the fan base, you know, me included, I'll be the first one to come out and say, you know, I got tricked too. I'm still sticking with my original premise that you didn't need to turn around and give Baker 25, 30 million when his contract was up, whatever he was asking for, whatever. Here's the thing. But you didn't have to do that. But we've seen that. And yes, look, at the top levels, the AFC Championship game, the Super Bowl, do you need a top 5 quarterback 90% of the time? Yes, you do. I'm not going to say you don't, but it's like, hey, you have to get there first. You can Nick Foles it when you get there.
Right.
So you were in the playoffs with Baker, who wasn't very good, and you knew he couldn't elevate. Like, he literally couldn't elevate against Kansas City. He played Chad Henne for 2.5 quarters, and we still lost. But if you don't have, and Flacco got us to, a couple seasons ago, Flacco got us to the playoffs. He looks like shit in the playoff game. Understandable. He's old and risky. Okay, we have him back again, but you have to be able to get there. They turn around, they're like, oh, well, shoot, you know, we went from playoffs to having, you know, a handful of wins. So maybe we should go back to what got us in the playoffs in the first place.
Right. And we wouldn't have, we wouldn't have been 3-14 if they wouldn't have stuck with the albatross for the first 7 games.
Yes.
The whole thing went south when they stuck with him. The bad aura, the bad vibe was in training camp, and the slide began then, and it never stopped. We put that behind us, and there's no way that was a 3-14 team, although it was, because that's what the record was.
Sure.
But they just, you know, they let him play way too long, and that's what happens when they gave up. Everybody gave up. So now Dylan Sampson, we love the pick. So now here's what happens. 2
Dylans in this draft. Nice.
Yes. Ironically, they spell them differently too.
Yes.
So now here's what happens. So the end of the 4th round, Shedeur is still on the board. The Browns are now thinking, man, we can't pass them up. We're going to trade our last 2 picks to jump back in front of Philadelphia, because the word is Philadelphia, which at this point, I kept saying 3 rounds ago, I thought, here was my pick. I thought if Jerry wasn't going to take him, but I had no idea that the Cowboys had my boy Joe Milton. Joe Milton is another quarterback Jerry picks up on the cheap, and he's going to try and resurrect.
Sure.
Okay, so that throws Jerry out. I thought a perfect fit would have been the Rams. He could sit behind Stafford. McVay is not going anywhere, and that organization and McVay is going to take zero shit from Coach Prime, from Dion, from Shedeur, from Shiloh, from Bilo, whatever the hell, the whole entourage. I thought the Rams were a perfect fit. Kept getting passed by. So then we're hearing, you know, Philadelphia. Your Browns trade up in front of Philadelphia and pick the kid. Now, is there speculation that this was a Haslam pick because he's trying to sell tickets?
There was always going to be that.
There was always going to be that. But in the 5th round, why not take a shot? I know I could. I watched the videos of him being a prick and him being rude to people, but watch the videos of this kid playing football. I mean, yes, he holds the ball. Yes, he takes sack.
Yes, it was Colorado. Yes, we hear all this.
But he could throw that ball a long way.
Did he not have the best completion percentage in the FBS last year? Out of everybody, even if you're at Toledo, who cares? You're going to be on someone's radar. He should not have. At the end of the day, when Gabriel goes and Shuck goes, you're like, all right, here. Let me go on my little spiel right here though, and then I'll throw it back to you if you have any final thoughts before we segue on to maybe bigger Browns topics. One of the most interesting developments in modern NFL draft history just happened, and we witnessed it all. Yeah. From the Dion saying this, oh, we're not going to sign. He's going to be a top 2 pick. He's going to be a top 3 pick. The Giants, the Browns, this and that. Was Tennessee interested in? They had Cam Ward second fiddle to this guy for a long part of this draft process. People forget these things. Yep. Okay, he's fallen. This and that. Shuck, Gabriel. Reporting Dion, Dion, people don't want to deal with Dion reporting. They don't like his social media presence, and yeah, he's a dick and this and that. Reporting. The NFL has a problem with, people who don't code switch, or people, they don't want to deal with his personality. He's getting blackballed. Let me tell you this right now, and I can't believe the Browns of all franchises figured it out. Because I figured it out real quick after all these guys were going off the board before him. And people go, oh, it's this dark, shadowy cabal of the front office had a Zoom, every front office and owner of the league had a Zoom meeting, said, we're not going to pick this guy.
They all got together.
Yeah, they all went out to Marble Room, God love them, Wagyu and frickin' whatever. Okay, Listen. At 2, this is what they all came to the same conclusion, but they're not having these backdoor meetings. They all came to the same conclusion. At 2, or in the first round, or the second round, or the third round, and apparently the fourth round, Dion and Shador have all the leverage. Mm-hmm. Where he was taken, Stefanski, Barry, and Haslam now have all the leverage. Look, Dion, look at all these players that went before him.
No, you're gonna
look to us. Look, yeah. Flacco just threw 3 interceptions. Hey, Gabriel is ahead on the depth chart than your son. Yep. I don't want to see on the morning shows. It takes all the credibility away from Dion.
No entourage. No, none of that shit.
If it's fair, if it's not fair, it doesn't matter. Now look, and I'm not. This is not a character, comment on Shador or Dion, because good for them. You create your own brand. You make money. God love you. God bless you that you can do that. You signed this big contract with Colorado, and that's another thing too. Regardless of all that, if he goes at pick 2 or in the second round, what general manager and coach wants to sit there and go, oh, we suck. Dion, every ESPN channel is saying Dion's going to be the head coach. That right. Haslam just got off the phone with him. Haslam just had dinner with him. Okay, get that away from it too.
Right.
And like I said, he could have been this type of guy anyway. But now this kid has to work. He has to put in the. Honestly, if I'm being from one man to another, I would look Shador right in his eyes and said, this is the best thing that's ever happened to you.
Absolutely. You couldn't have said it any better.
Absolutely. You got to come to the facility, because look, if you're number 2 to the Browns and you're week 1 starter and the cameras and this and that, and you got your own media, paparazzi following you around, you got millions of followers, that's a bad situation for 99% of human beings to be in. I would be, if I was, and I think Dion actually is probably thinking this down low. I think Dion loves that this happened personally.
And he should, because this humbles the kid. And if he's a smart man, he will take this time. Now he puts his head down and goes to work, because obviously a lot of people didn't like him. He rubbed a lot of people the wrong way during this process. And now you're not going to hear, thank God, you're not going to hear we're 0-2 about Coach Prime. Coach Prime isn't coming here. We don't have to worry about any of that. And listen, I could have told you a month ago, Brian Dable did never have interest. Brian Dable has been in love with Jackson Dart for a long time.
Yep.
And Shador, by his own cockiness, he screwed some interviews up because he supposedly didn't want to go play with some certain teams, and he gets what he deserves. Now, I expect him to have this chip on his shoulder. He should come to Cleveland with his head down, with his duffel bag and his hard hat, and be ready to work. There should be no entourage. For the love of God, if we get reports, listen, if we get reports from, I don't want to say whose sister, that he's at some certain nightclub hanging out in downtown Cleveland, this is going to be all bad. He can't be having private rooms in downtown.
I'll tell you this, though. If the paparazzi's there, but the levity and the importance of it is all taken away because of him falling. There's still going to be people there, but the media, the news reporting means so much less now. It means nothing. Everything got stripped away from the issue that, and like I said, I can't believe the Browns identified this, but acquiring him had all this downside. All the downside has been negated now. You got him in the 5th round.
Okay, but who's going to buy a jersey tomorrow? Whose jerseys are going to be on sale? Shador or Mason Graham?
Shador's. Absolutely. But it doesn't matter if he's not playing. It's not going to matter because everything that we thought about this guy just got flipped on its head. And at the end of the day, that's what you said. He's going to have to come and work. He's going to have to because I don't know. I think it's outside of if we didn't select Gabriel, I'm like, this is the smartest thing I've ever seen. This was one of the smartest drafts I've ever seen because you got a guy who, and this is why Mel Kiper gives you the A+. Like, quick segue. You get the other main reason I gave the Browns an A+, they got Shador at 144.
Yep.
Number 5 overall prospect in the class. And Mel Kiper, yes, it's like stock trading. It's like stock picking. He's going to be wrong and he's going to be right. Am I saying that he's the all-knowing draft oracle and you should believe everything he says? No, you should do your own due diligence and look into this and get multiple sources. But he's been the guy surrounding the NFL draft for longer than a lot of people. So when he says this guy is the number, I think everybody said this. If he was this prospect and he wasn't, his last name wasn't Sanders and his dad wasn't Deion Sanders, I think this is a early 2nd round prospect at the very minimum. And yeah, being Deion's kid, it's cool and all. And, it gets you, Deion gets the notoriety and this and that, but sometimes that works against you. And it clearly worked against you here. I think the Browns did this very intelligently, believe it or not.
I agree. And to me, I can't believe that Mel is chosen. I mean, what a hill to die on, because if Shador doesn't pan out, man, I mean, maybe Mel knows he's done anyways, but what a hill. I mean, he really was. I mean, he kept doubling down, and poor Cam Ward gets picked, and we're talking about Shador's accuracy and how good he is. And, I mean, anyhow, at 5, at pick 144, you're taking a shot on the kid. If Dylan Gabriel wasn't there, it would be, whatever. But with that being said, we conclude the draft. Now you're sitting there.
Yep.
Okay. What do you want to say?
What's interesting is that, because I was looking at the undrafted free agent list, we didn't sign an undrafted free agent offensive lineman either.
No, amazingly. I thought for sure we got a guy from Pitt. Do you know him?
Offensive line. I texted my buddy about that. He said he thought he was good. What was that guy? Cornerback, defensive back, safety, something like that. Yeah. So I got some reports that he was good, but kind of biased if you're asking a Pitt fan. But at the end of the day, tackle, linemen, just in general. I'm looking at linemen. I'm looking at wide receivers. I'm hoping that you have this Andrew Berry trade for another caliber wide receiver, because I think, and that's another thing too, people kill me. Andrew Berry sucks at drafting wide receivers. I totally agree with you. He's actually terrible at it. And then I'm upset we didn't draft a wide receiver. Well, yeah, I don't want the guy drafting a wide receiver. That was the only understandable thing in the whole draft. It's like, all right, take a tight end. Use him as a wide receiver hybrid. You don't want Anthony Schwartz or, God love him, David Bell. Like, I mean, come on here, guys. God. Like, let them trade for somebody. Let them trade for a mid-tier guy who's on the outs with their current team. And then hopefully that Stefanski can make them good. You've already done it twice. You've done it with Cooper and you've done it with Jerry Jeudy. Just go that route again. So I'm looking at that. I'm wondering I'm wondering if Jerome Ford is tradable. Like, that's like the only way you get Chubb back, in my opinion, is if you move Ford. I'd be calling everybody for Pickett. Can you give me a 7th for Pickett? Can you give me a 6? I don't know what do we trade for him? A 6th? Can you get that 6th rounder back?
I think DTR and a 5th.
Oh yeah, we trade DTR, but it's like somebody has moved from this quarterback room. Maybe it's Flack. I don't think it's Flacco.
You're gonna. I'll tell you my theory, and nothing's gonna happen there until closer to the end of camp.
Correct.
That's first of all. Second of all, you have to see what happens with these wide receivers. I think they believe in Jamari Trash.
Sure.
I really do think they believe in that kid. I think that
I'm not sure I do, but I'm willing to listen.
Okay. Before we move out of the draft, how about a sickening, and I mean a sickening thing? How could the Pittsburgh Steelers draft? I mean, not only do they draft Jack Sawyer, who listen, now the scouts, here's the thing, and to me it doesn't matter. Jack Sawyer does not grade out well. He doesn't move well. His upper body, he doesn't get off the ball well. But Jack Sawyer, you know why we need 5 quarterbacks? Because for the next 10 years, he may kill 3 of them.
Yes.
For the love of God, Jack Sawyer is a Pittsburgh Steeler. Then I gotta throw up all over myself again. They draft Will Howard. Could you just see our luck? Will Howard going 18-3, like Big Ben. Would that not be the most? And I got
disgusting.
Will Howard's no good. Will Howard isn't worth this shit. Well, what if would that not just be the most Cleveland Browns thing? And Will Howard ends up
you already know too. It'll be the first, and we'll have to talk schedule too, because the schedule release is coming up. But you know how it works. It's always with these guys. It's always with these Ohio guys that are in the backyard, everyone's backyard, and it's like, Sawyer not a good. How many not a good prospects have the Pittsburgh Steelers made good? It's what good organizations do. Did anybody love Antonio Brown? I know that's different from what you're referencing, but did anybody, same way Big Ben, did anybody love Big Ben coming out of
Ohio? No.
Literally, it kills me. And it's like, you're right. We'll be in the first matchup of the year against the Steelers. Rudolph will get hurt and Will Howard will come in and beat us. It's like writing sitcom. It's like writing like The Daily Show. Like it's like General Hospital or like Young and the Restless. Every year with this team, it's unreal. It's vomit inducing.
Yep. And then the Ravens draft Mike Green. You want to talk about? I mean, we have got to bolster the offensive line.
It's bad.
He will kill one of them. If you guys, if you're out there watching and you haven't looked up Mike Green, I mean, that man is an animal. Yep. And I mean, for the love of God, this is the thing. You want to talk about smart franchises. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people heard about Mike Green from Marshall, but I mean, they just do their due diligence.
Yep.
He's not flashy. The guy's an animal. And that's just what
it just these franchises when you have a quarterback, and trust me, it's very, very difficult to get a franchise quarterback. We know better than anybody, but these front offices just make it look so easy. Like it's on autopilot when you have a franchise quarterback with the Mike Greens and the same thing. every year with these guys, whatever draft class it was, I'm sitting there, I'm like, Kyle Hamilton hasn't gone yet, and the Ravens are coming around the corner, and he was like the clear best safety prospect in that draft. They got him at the end. He was a second rounder, late first rounder, and I'm sitting there like, oh my! Every year they get these defensive guys it's amazing because you're like, how have these guys had such a good defense for the last 10 years? Because that's all the work they do in the draft. They send Lamar out there, and they sent Flacco out there before with no weapon. Hey, go make everyone else better. Same way, Big Ben, hey, we'll give you a 5th round running back and a 6th round wide receiver. Can you do anything with them? He's like, sure.
Sure.
Yep.
How about real quick on the Steelers? If Caleb Johnson, what a pick. They get rid of they let Najee's gone, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, and they pick round 3 Caleb Johnson, and if he runs for more yards than our 2 guys, I'll be sick. But that kid is what a runner, and you got to give them. I mean, what a draft overall. I hate to say it for the Steelers. That Yaya Black, another good ball player. I don't know anything about their last 2 players, but Will Howard at round 6, if that kid pans out, talk about nauseating for another 20 years. Oh.
But you're saying this, though, I didn't follow them as closely, I guess, because, you kind of forget about them loosely because, if Burrow's hurt, they're not really interesting to follow, but it's like I didn't really hear too many great selections or great commentary about anybody the Bengals drafted. But
the Bengals had the worst draft. I think they had 4 picks. You want to talk about the Bengals, no rhyme or reason. I think the Bengals had they're a confused franchise.
They're
right
like
now.
Us, but they just stumbled upon Joe Burrow magically.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And let's see here. The Bengals, I don't think they drafted worth a shit. I think the Bengals, the only chance that they have is Burrow's out. They did get Shamar Stewart, but other than
people
that,
don't like him though.
Right? 17th pick. I don't know. They got Taj Brooks from Texas Tech at round 6. I don't know. They got a tackle, 2 offensive linemen to protect Burrow.
Boring.
But this isn't, very boring.
They did all their work in the offseason re-signing their wide receivers. I mean, if you have a healthy Burrow and you retain Chase and what's his face?
T. Higgins.
Yeah, you don't need a flashy draft.
Yeah, but basically running it back, you fired Lou Anarumo.
Yeah, their defense was terrible.
You're going to score 50 points every game?
You hope. That's probably their only game plan. That's only avenue for success down there. You think Stewart is going to make your defense that much better? I don't think so.
No. If the Browns could field a competent team, close to competent, for the love of Christ, the Bengals are the worst team in our division.
We got a long way to go for that, I think. I still think if they have Burrow, if the quarterbacks are healthy, it's us and still Pittsburgh's better run than us. But it's like the last couple of seasons, I'm like, who's going to be the worst team in this division? Can it please be the Steelers? And then it never is.
Well,
always us.
You could count on the Bengals starting out 1-4, and then they dig themselves out of the hole.
Sure.
Burrow throws them out of the hole.
You got to bury them. I want them with a 2-3 win season. Like, come on. Disgusting.
Oh, that'd be lovely.
Anybody.
But how do you see? What do you guys? Well, not you guys. What does Pittsburgh do if Tomlin yet again? I mean, when is time to say when?
They love Tomlin. He's safe there forever. In my opinion, if you didn't get rid of him here's my assessment. If you didn't get rid of him after this last season, I don't know what gets rid of him.
If not now, when, huh?
Unless the first year he doesn't have a winning season, they're just like, all right, we're gonna get rid of you. Like it's never gonna happen. They don't have dumpster fire. Tomlin doesn't have dumpster fires. He doesn't have 4 or 5 wins. It just doesn't happen.
Who better? Right? Who better? Who are you gonna get better?
Nobody. That's another thing with this quarterback class. People are like, oh, Shadur's sliding. I'm like, look, you only had 3 teams that really needed quarterbacks this draft. So that's the thing. That's another thing about the Steelers. They finally, I think, figured it out. Who really cares who's their quarterback? I think that's where the Browns are at. Like, yeah, we're going to put good prospects around it. I don't even think the Steelers have done that, but it's like, hey, we're going to give you guys that have high ceilings, but at the end of the day in AFC North, maybe who really cares who your quarterback is? Yes, you have Jackson, you have Burrow, and you have good success stories there, but it's like Burrow can't get into the playoffs sometimes, it feels like, because they start so bad. And then Lamar gets into the playoffs and he's like, is he really been that good in the playoffs? And the answer so far has been no.
No. I heard on the radio that Pittsburgh scout was confident that the Steelers are confident that Mason Rudolph is better than all but 3 quarterbacks in this draft class.
That's what it sounds like as well on my end.
The Steelers are happy with Rudolph starting.
Yes, I would agree with that for right now.
Which me as a Browns fan, I would rather Steelers sign Aaron Rodgers because he's going to bring nothing but drama in his ayahuasca and bring a mess to Pittsburgh.
I was hoping they were going to give him, even if they gave him like 20, 25 million, that would have been amazing from my perspective as a Browns fan. That would have been great.
Yeah. Mason Rudolph will be serviceable. You know what I'm saying? He'll run that offense just well enough. You know what I'm saying?
Tomlin will get him 9 wins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Him and Watt and Hayward, they'll get 9 wins.
Absolutely.
And you got Metcalf. They made a big move. They made a big move. Where's Pickens? Being a diva somewhere. I seen the other day on socials, he unfollowed them on Instagram. Like, this is amazing. I don't know how they draft all these guys that have pre-existing CTE. I mean, he's Antonio Brown reincarnate. It's amazing. I love it. Well, I don't love the CTE, but Antonio Brown was the only dude in a Steelers uniform that I actually genuinely could have liked. I cannot think of one other name. That's why I just put out the other day. I said it was a nice run rooting for Sawyer and Howard. Instantly hate those guys. Sorry. You'll always be fan favorite Buckeyes, but if it's the first time you make a play against the Browns in the black and gold, sorry, I don't like you anymore.
Okay. Can we talk about the Browns quarterback job?
Let's do it.
Okay. I still think as of today with this quarterback room, Flacco, Pickett, Shador, Dylan Gabriel, and Deshaun, but we know Deshaun's not playing.
Yep.
As of this morning, the Vegas odds, Pickett was minus 110 to start. Vegas agrees with me. Here's my thinking. The Browns, if every interview, everything I've read, Stefanski, they love Pickett. The fans, all I see, I've seen that picture, that video of him throwing the ball and losing it a million times. They love to pick on Kenny Pickett.
Yep.
If anybody could make Pickett a quarterback, it's Stefanski. And I think they see something in him. Tommy Reese, Bill Musgrave, and Stefanski. So here's my thought is the Cleveland Browns fans are not going to love this. And if it backfires, everything will go south again. But I think Flacco could end up being the odd man out.
He could be.
Because here's why. When opening day is coming and somebody needs a quarterback and they call the Browns, who wants Kenny Pickett?
Nobody, apparently.
Who's going to want Flacco? They're going to want Flacco. But are the Browns going to want to go into opening day with Kenny Pickett and 2 rookies?
0 adults in the room.
Can they somehow finagle a way to keep 4 quarterbacks, put somebody on the injured list? There's no way Gabriel and Sanders are clearing waivers. There's no way.
No.
today is April 27th.
Yep.
I am still saying today, barring injury, Kenny Pickett's week 1. It's an unpopular opinion. Kenny Pickett will start week 1. You can't get 17 good games out of Flacco. They know it. You know it. I know it.
Sure.
Now, if you want to go with the theory, you let Flacco start 6 or 7, then you see what you can get out of Sanders or Gabriel. The Browns aren't thinking like that. The Browns are trying to put this team together to make some sort, and I'm not saying a run.
Yeah.
To go to the Browns are going to try to win some games this year.
Be in the hunt. My thing is that, and I'm not saying that this front office, it's not impossible that this front office wouldn't have done this, but it feels like to me, if Pickett is the starter, somebody lied to Flacco. If all that reporting is true, that he took less or he had other offers and came to us, and maybe he could have got more money somewhere else. To me, that screams somebody told him he was going to be the starter. That's the only thing hanging me up and I have to go back and look. Well, Pickett was first, right?
Pickett was first.
So the timeline matters because you go Pickett, Flacco Pickett trade, Flacco signing, draft. I agree with you. I think Gabriel and Shedeur have to make the roster. That is throw that out of there first because that's easy. Pay Watson. The only thing that could really mess up and it's not high. I'm not saying go out there and bet someone the Browns are going to win 9 or 10 games. I'm not there yet. Obviously, from what we saw last year, the product on the field, though, 4.5 wins is the line for Vegas. They get the line wrong sometimes. They got it wrong last year, clearly, because it was 7.5 or 8. It was lower than a lot of people thought, obviously, but it wasn't that low. It doesn't. I think Flacco makes the most sense because I don't know why you would sign him after trading for Pickett. It all feels like it still feels like they have no idea what they're doing. It doesn't feel like they knew what they were doing in the draft with Gabriel. And I get it. Stuff changes on the fly in the draft. Shedeur sliding. Okay. We already picked Gabriel, but here we go again. Another quarterback. It's like Pickett seems like the DTR of everybody. Flacco, number 1. And if you want to stay in the hunt, he knows the offense. He didn't play with any of these wide receivers, though. Maybe he played with Moore the first time around. He's never played with Judy, but none of these guys have played. In all fairness, none of these guys have played with Judy.
With any of them.
And you're going to keep the rookies. So, but I agree with you. If somebody called, they're going to call for Flacco and not Pickett.
Why do you think that at 40 or 41, Flacco would think he'd be a starter anywhere?
Just because it's the Browns.
I think Flacco took less money to come back here because he's got a wife and kids. They love him here in Cleveland. He's a hero. He knows.
And you're going to turn around and trade that guy, though?
He knows the system. Flacco, it's easy to me. No, but listen. They had no intention. They probably had the intention of Pickett, Flacco, Gabriel, and then this whole Shedeur thing happened. Okay, so now they're probably scrambling. So something has to happen. Maybe Pickett has a terrible camp, and he is the one to go.
Yes,
but I just don't know how confident week 1 I am with Flacco.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm overly confident, but it's Flacco knows the offense. Flacco is going to have a better camp unless he's just that immobile and old and elderly. He knows the offense. He knows Stefanski. He knows the front office. I agree with you all there. And I'm not saying we win. Like I said, I'm not saying we win 8 or 9 games with Flacco, but it's at the end of the day, if he still wants to play. That's what's hanging me up. He takes less money. He knows Watson. And that's the one thing, you cannot let him create a false sense of reality for this guy. Let him post on Instagram and be like, hey, don't show up. I do not want to see you in Berea. I don't want to see you in the facilities. I don't want to see you on the team plane. That's the only thing where you have 3 wins last year. The only thing that's going to really, and I can't believe I'm saying this out of everything, this is just how brainwashed we are as Browns fans. The only thing that's going to really turn me off about this season, if I have to hear about this guy, if I have to see him in Berea, if I have to see him, in the team plane, on the sidelines, warming up, throwing the ball.
No.
Like, figure it out with Flacco. If you wanted to pay Flacco as a coach, you should have just asked that. Like, I would have been cool with that. Hey, Joe, do you want to be the quarterback coach? No, I still want to play. Okay, are you paying him to be the 4th quarterback so he's basically the coach? I don't think that's how the arrangement went with him when we signed him.
Probably not. But remember this, 2.5 years ago or whenever, he was on the couch. Nobody wanted him. Yeah. We resurrected him. Yeah. Stefanski resurrected him. So he declined other offers. What the hell could have his other offers have been? It wasn't the Colts. They got Danny Dimes.
Saints.
Derek Carr's backup. Give Derek Carr a run.
Did Carr's injury news come out before or after we signed him? I think it was after, so that doesn't make any sense. Maybe that reporting's wrong. Maybe he didn't have any other offers.
No, I heard that several times that he turned down more money and other offers to come back to Cleveland.
I think he's thinking, Watson is a lost cause and Pickett is no good. And then they go and draft 2 guys. It's bizarre how the intrigue has gone to a whole nother level. Like, it's like a train wreck. Like, you can't look away. It's going to end. There's a really good chance it ends badly, but it's like, talk about the intrigue. And honestly, and for all these extra years, and that's why I think Flacco, like, you should have re-signed Flacco last year, in my opinion, because look, for all of major sports, like, think about it. Think about, some of our hobbies. Think about, when you turn heel or when the crowd hates you. Has there been a less liked franchise in modern American sports than the Browns after this whole Watson ordeal? The Flacco thing, you got some good graces with the league. You got some good graces with people who weren't Browns fans. Not that you had a bunch of good graces pre-Watson that weren't, it's the Browns. It's the Browns. But it's like, look, that's another thing people aren't talking about with the Shador move is like, hey, good for the Browns for taking a chance on this guy. Like, you got in some good rapport with NFL fans. And I get it. Oh, the front offices and the owners, they don't care about that. I get that. But it's like, from an optical standpoint, viewing the team from a fan perspective, like, yeah, there's going to be people rooting for the Browns because Shador may or may not be an integral part of the team now.
Yes. Absolutely.
So you got to think about that when you stub your toe for the last 3 years. And every year the cap analyst, he's 50 million, 80 bazillion, gazillion dead cap. We get it. Like, I understand. That's always going to be the narrative until he's off the books, which might not be for the rest of the decade. But right. I don't know who. I don't think they have any idea who the starting quarterback is going to be.
No, they're going to have to go play it out. And I think that ultimately one of them comes up with an injury.
Right. Flacco getting injured and he just kind of moves into the background and Pickett is your day one starter. That doesn't surprise me. Somebody calls and somebody wants Pickett. That doesn't really surprise me either. If you're a team that's like if Anthony Richardson gets hurt, do they draft a quarterback? I guess I'm ignorant to the situation. Like, if you're a team who you're not that good, and you didn't draft a quarterback, maybe you want Pickett instead of Flacco.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they got Danny Dimes, and I'm thinking they took a shot on somebody. But I don't know. Here's also the other thing. Barry and Stefanski are in no trouble. It cannot be a disaster. This cannot be 15 false starts, offsides. Bubba Ventrone cannot allow kick returns.
They love him.
Just think, they love him. It cannot be this cannot be a disaster.
But you're telling, absolutely not. I think Barry is on the hot seat. The way Barry
Colts
drafted
Riley Leonard.
Oh,
so he's not.
Rather have Pickett anyway. But you got to think, like, to me, I wouldn't have been surprised if the Haslams told Barry before the draft this was his last year. The way he drafted 2 quarterbacks and 2 running backs. You're like halfway through when he took Gabriel, I'm like, is he messing around? Traded out of Hunter, which is like, all right. Was anybody going to blame him for taking Hunter at 2? So you went absolute, like, to me, if I'm a GM on the hot seat, I'm hanging out there and taking Hunter. Be like, hey, I gave you like a unicorn. I just called him Shohei Ohtani. That ain't my fault. You guys don't know how to use them.
Absolutely.
I'm not making the decisions. He did the weirdest combination of the safest yet weirdest draft.
Yeah.
Halfway through it, I'm like, maybe they told him he's done. Maybe they told him he, put in his 12-month resignation.
He because you're right. He could have taken Hunter and said, hey, it's not my fault. You guys are idiots.
Yeah, absolutely. I gave you the best college prospect in the 21st century. What?
There's no way. I am so glad that we don't have that. Just think of the
I agree with
headaches.
You. I agree.
Because I don't think
don't even talk about off the field stuff. His off the field stuff is what, I don't even want to think about that.
Liam Cohn he had one good year as Baker's offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay, and now he is the head coach at Duval. Trevor Lawrence is a broken man who's had different coaches, different offensive coordinators, has never really panned out. And now you put this kid there. They got their own headaches there. And if Hunter does not pan out, you talk about Shad Khan having a heart attack.
There's a world where 2026's NFL draft, which is in Pittsburgh, you might be able to take like Aller without even making a trade.
Well, hopefully you don't need him.
I agree with you, but it's like, all right, you used a 3rd and a 5th this year on a quarterback. If you turn around and the Jaguars are a top 5 pick or the Browns are a top 5 pick, like, you might be able to get your quarterback next year without even having everyone talk about, we acquired this other asset from the Jaguars to be able to move up for Arch Manning. If he comes out,
he may not come out.
And 2, you might have a top 3 pick again.
You may. And I tell you what, talk about a homecoming and a love story like Bernie Kosar. Drew Aller, a local boy, your backyard. You want to bring this franchise? Drew Aller and Fannin Jr. You want to Haslam would be the hatred would be coming down. The hate meter would be coming way down.
Goodwill would be up. But that's the thing though. Like, that's what I don't understand about the Gabriel. And still, if you wanted to make an argument about not understanding Shador, so if you suck again, the whole fan base is going to be, if you suck again, you're assuming the quarterback play is below average. So the whole franchise, the whole fan base in the league and the analysts and the Kuiper Juniors and everyone else is going to be saying, well, you need to pick a quarterback in 26. You're telling me that if we have 3 wins again, you're not going to be pounding the table for Aller come January of next year, February of next year?
Gotta be.
Have to be.
Maybe that's why they were planning on playing Pickett.
But then what? You have Gabriel, just sits on his ass for his rookie contract? I don't get it.
No, I think that it'd be, in a perfect world, to me, Pickett is serviceable this year. Gabriel and Shador almost red shirt, so to speak.
Yeah.
And Pickett has this resurrection year, and he wants, a bunch of money. He's Sam Darnold or something. He goes off into sunset next year, and one of these two kids is your quarterback.
Shadur Sanders, 2026 week 1 starter? No, maybe. Not impossible. I don't know. I don't see with Gabriel. I think Gabriel messes the whole thing up. Like if you've seen Shadur sliding and you thought someone was going to pick him, you're getting people talking in your ear. Why don't you just take a skill player at Gabriel's spot or a tackle and then come up for if the play? That's what there's no rhyme or reason to any of it, and it's still very, very interesting.
Because maybe they didn't think he'd fall that far. Maybe who knows what was going on inside that war room. But
because the whole draft it's like a seesaw. The whole draft, it's like trade 2, get another asset because we want to be able to take quarterback next year. Okay, well, we love Gabriel though. Draft him; he'll be quarterback 3. Flacco and Pickett could fight each other in camp. Then you make another trade for Sanders. It's like whoa. Your thought process with trading 2 went out the window when you picked Gabriel, and then it went out the window again when you took Shadur.
Yep. And when you took Gabriel, there was so many good pieces on the board.
Yes.
It wasn't like we're taking Gabriel at 6.
It's a top 100 pick. Top 100 pick on this kid that has you have no plan for this guy. You have zero plan. You can't tell me you have a plan for Shadur, or you can't have a plan for Shadur and Gabriel simultaneously. It doesn't exist.
One of them can't be a wildcat quarterback. It doesn't. They're not.
You can't tell me and you can't tell me the plan is absolutely. You can't tell me the plan is we're going to alternate series with these kids. No, that's not. No, you can't. You're not. Don't reinvent the wheel. Like nope. That was the thing too when we took Gabriel. I'm like, I texted you this. I'm like, I don't want to see Dylan Gabriel on 4th down. I just don't. I don't want to see it.
He's too small. What the hell are you going to do? Pick him up and throw him over the pile?
They're going to line him up. I don't know. Snap the ball to Flacco and line him up as a running back. I don't know. No. I don't want to see any of it. Oh, the first drive of the Oregon versus Ohio State. It was all him rushing the ball. Okay.
Dorsey's gone. Dorsey's gone. I think you're going to see adults this year. I really do. I really do have confidence in Tommy Rees and Stefanski. Dorsey is the OC or the quarterback coach in Dallas. How that guy has a job, I don't know. He should be doing what we do. I mean, how that guy has a job is amazing. Is beyond me.
Crazy.
Hey Ken, how are your wide receivers going to run routes? Well, they're just gonna go out there and run around, and we're going to throw them the ball. I mean, that's basically what he said.
The fact that he would even say something like that is the funniest part of it all. Like you couldn't think of even a lie there to bullshit around, even if you didn't know what you were going to say.
Right.
Oh, well, Browns. I mean, you got to be intrigued though. You can't be like, oh, this hasn't been interesting.
High drama in April
and low win totals.
High drama. It's going to be, it's going to be exciting. Training camp is going to, I tell you what, the numbers and listen, as much as we hate Haslam, the guy's a genius. The training camp numbers are going to be through the roof.
Yeah.
There's going to be cameras everywhere. Even though the kid's a 5th round pick, all eyes are going to be on Cleveland. And I tell you what, it's if the Browns have got to control it, and everybody in Cleveland is gonna. I'm telling you, look.
Jersey sales, they got everything through this draft.
The Cavaliers are running through the heat, and we have spent 1 hour and 35 minutes talking about the Browns and have not even spoke about the Cavs.
It's almost sad. It's almost sad. I feel you got to feel bad. You got to feel bad for the Guardians. The Guardians Indians combo has been, in the playoffs for the last decade plus, and you think they don't even exist.
Yep.
You want to segue to the Cavs?
Yeah, let's segue.
All right, so moving over, Browns, plenty of discourse on them. Cavaliers making it look easy. I don't want to sound like the grouch here. I know that I'm good at I'm doing that, but it's like, am I off base for saying like this is how I thought the first 3 games of this series should have went?
No, not at all. Well, here's the thing. Eric Spoelstra is my favorite coach of all time.
Really?
Maybe my favorite coach in any sport. And I think that he's done a lot with a little, and he's won a lot with a little. This year, he just doesn't have the bullets in the chamber. He just doesn't have the bullets in the chamber. Game 2, he gave it a run. You know, they were close. They gave it an effort, and you could just see yesterday. I mean, it was bad. You know, they don't have it. Tomorrow night, the Cavs just put them down. I think the Cavs the Cavs mercifully put the Heat down tomorrow night. Spoelstra has been a coach that for years he has done a lot with a little. He's taken undrafted guys you never heard of, guys that are really, I mean, that a lot, Haywood Highsmith, I mean, Duncan Robinson, the list goes on and on. You know, he doesn't have big name guys. And, but yeah, this is how it should go. The Heat shouldn't even hang around. We should get up tomorrow night big. And the second half, I want to see Jalen Tyson and Sam Merrill, and let's see the bench in there. And probably
when's the last time you've seen garbage minutes for a Cleveland Cavalier playoff series? It's a sight to behold. I'm loving it. Feels like the LeBron days.
Yes, when we were getting blown out was garbage minutes.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Now here's what concerns me. I think we could safely look ahead to the next round.
Sure. You'd like to get it done in 4, though. You are correct. You don't want to overlook Miami, but like you're in competition with like OKC for rest days, in my opinion. Like they held serve over there. They swept. Okay, just finish up tomorrow.
We have to finish up. Because I don't know what Milwaukee can do to give Indiana a series. I mean, Doc Rivers is clueless. I hope Milwaukee somehow could either take Indiana to 7 or beat them. But I don't think. I think
tonight, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a good one to watch tonight. I don't know why they had that as the late night game tonight, but whatever. Go on.
I think we're destined to see Indiana, and that Indiana was 3-1 against us this year. In the last game of the year, doesn't matter. That was, backups and backups, but they pose a real concern for me.
They're built like a team that will play us, that like plays us well. Like they were built like the Atlanta teams that beat us a couple of times earlier in the year, back to back. They have the length, they have the versatility, they have guys who aren't afraid to be physical. They got a little swagger. I hear you there. Yeah, no, I definitely hear you there. It's understandable. What is interesting to me is like, if you want to, let's look at these first 3 games as just kind of their outcomes and just little tidbits here and there. Game 1, Ty Jerome really carries you. Like if you wanted to make an argument against the Cavs for the first 3 games, which it would be really difficult to, because I think this is just who the Cavs have been all year long, is what I'm about to say. But, if you wanted to be a naysayer to the 1 seed Cavaliers, you would say, okay, without the Jerome outburst in game 1, that game could go either way. You could say that. Yeah. Now, if you've been watching the team and following them, that's kind of who Jerome has been all year. So that's not totally surprised. It's not like there hasn't been a quality win. They've all been quality wins. Game
it wasn't
2,
like the Gary Trent game last night when Gary Trent goes off and he's never done that before.
It wasn't like the Orlando games of last year where you were like, wow, we kind of fell into or Orlando gift wrapped that W for it. It hasn't been like that. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, All right, game one, Jerome. Game two, if you don't have 10 threes in the second quarter, which is abnormal, that's a lot. They had a historic second quarter for the playoffs. That game was close anyway. But if you've been following the team, if you've been watching along, you know that's how our three-point shooting has been all year long. It could get that hot. It wasn't out of the ordinary. And then game three, there's no argument for Miami in game three. No Garland, Mitchell, very pedestrian, and Miami had no chance. So this is the as far as I'm concerned, this is the luxury you get being the 1 seed. You are facing the 10th seed in the East. They were 37-48. They were 8 games below 500. You should be cleaning up here and maximizing your rest because you don't want these games. You don't want to go to game 5. You don't want any more minutes where an ankle can get. You seen Brunson today. You don't know. Nope. Take care of it in 4. You should be trying your hardest. Tomorrow should be the biggest win. And I know we just had a 40-point win. Tomorrow, you should be. I want starters out like halfway through the third tomorrow.
Put them down. Put them down tomorrow.
And my thing is here too, and we're wish casting out into the future and projecting. And I guess if you're still following along, rip me up and down in the comments, I guess. But the East just seems so soft to me. Like you should be licking your chops if you're the Cavs. Like let's go. Let's get to the Eastern Conference Finals and face Boston head on, and then who knows what happens after that. Indy is. I think that they would play us good. I think we're better than them. The Bucks, shameful. The Bucks are super washed up. Kuzma, whatever, hanging around. Orlando.
What a mistake that was, trading Chris Middleton for him.
They're out of options, though. I don't blame them for that. They're out of options. Boston, Tatum's already hurt. Boston does not move me. They don't move me, people. They're not a super team. They're a well-constructed, well-coached, well-front office team. Don't get me wrong. They don't have a LeBron James. They don't have a prime Kevin Durant. Nope. Jason Tatum is not a clear-cut superstar top 2 guy in the league. He's not even their number 1 option. I think they're better when let Derek White have the ball. Personally, sometimes. Absolutely. But it's come on now, let's go.
This is it. This is our opportunity. And when I say this is it, Mitchell, everything is aligned. Mitchell is in the prime. Garland is escalating to his prime. The only thing, Mobley is still a pup. He's going to get bigger and stronger, but this is it. There's not that they're not going to be around next year, but this is the perfect storm for us to get there.
You make the in-season move. Yep.
You are right. And for the love of God, because here's the thing. Indiana scares me. Who knows New York and Detroit. New York will probably be left standing, but what's going to be left of them? You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're beating the hell out of each other.
Yep.
Thibodeau is, he works those guys hard. It's going to end up, that'll end up costing them. We're on a collision course with Boston. And you're right. I really like our chances as long as we have to hold serve. It starts by tomorrow, putting them down tomorrow night.
And I like all of this conversation gets prefaced with could this team go 8-0 and just wind up in the Eastern Conference Finals without taking a loss? They absolutely could. We've seen them play it we've seen them win 15, 16 games in a row this season. I'm not saying it's going to be a walk in the park, though, walking into Indiana's, arena for game 3. It's not. Even MSG. I don't want to go I wouldn't be thrilled with I would be up for the challenge. I wouldn't be thrilled with playing a game 3 in MSG. It's, as far as I'm concerned, you secure the 1 seed for a situation exactly like this. You're playing a Miami team that doesn't have the firepower, like you said, doesn't have the bullets in the chamber, and embarrassing for the league, in my opinion. The road atmosphere is just not there. The bottom bowl is like there's seats everywhere. Like I get it. You got jet skis and you got exotic drugs and it's 90 degrees all year long in Miami, but you can't it's a basketball city. LeBron, for me, since Dwayne Wade, like you think there would be a couple more celebrities in the stands in South Beach, but it's like Indiana. We know that state loves their basketball. We know that. MSG, they're like the Miami of the North, and they got freaks in the stands. They got people standing out there. Spike Lee's buying tickets for everybody. It's kind of sad that Miami is like that, in the good modern day of 2025. But it's like, okay, you get the road jitters out. You beat them by 40. Even last year, you didn't win a road game last year in the first round. And I know it's a different team. It's a different season. Different head coach. I totally agree with all that, but it's like, work all that out now. Enjoy being on the road and winning games in a road environment. Finish the series out tomorrow and make sure you're on the same path as OKC and let Boston play these games against Orlando. Let them go 5 or 6 games. That's fine.
Absolutely. And let them get banged up.
Yep.
Let's hope that the Cavs are in the hotel room tonight and they're not out enjoying South Beach.
Oh, that would be disappointing.
That would be so disappointing. And you're right about Miami. That was so like mundane. Like how come their PR people should have papered the arena? They should have given tickets away. Just give tickets away. Get people in there.
I know.
For a playoff game, that was really the league they should have been embarrassed, but Chicago should have beat them. But right. Spoelstra is a good coach, and Spoelstra won that game. Anyhow, Indiana, we have got to be. We have to hold serve and win those. We got to win 2 games if it is Indiana. If it's Milwaukee, here's what you do with Milwaukee: let Giannis score 50.
Yep. Cover everyone else up.
That's all.
Simple.
It's very simple. Very simple there. I don't know. It's hard to say anything at all about Atkinson. I'm not sure I love some of his adjustments or lack of.
Yes.
But starting Sam Merrill, nothing mattered yesterday.
No. I didn't like that though. You're right though. I did, because that's my next question. Like, if you had to give me a weak point through being up 3-0, that's my next question to you is what would that be? I get it. You like in the playoffs sometimes after 5, or even through 5 and 5 to 7 and 5 to 8, it doesn't really matter. I get that, but it's like, I don't know. I'm not starting Merrill. If DG's hurt a game against Boston, I'm not starting Merrill. Like, I don't know why don't you want Hunter to get some starting minutes with these guys? That's the only thing that's bothered me so far. Game 2, the rotations were a little weird, and starting Merrill, it's not going to kill you in a Miami game as we saw yesterday, but it's just like, I could at least sit there and question those decisions.
You can't do that against Boston.
No.
And is Hunter in the doghouse? Is there such a thing? And I just don't know what. And once again, it's hard to say anything about Atkinson. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But it's just, that's one of those things. And I hope that nothing comes back to bite us in the ass. But it's just like sometimes you can't.
Because in all fairness, it's a 40. We know the final. Like, try to get the conclusion of the game out of your head. And I know that's counterintuitive, whatever. It's 40-point win, whatever. I get it. But what happened yesterday in the first quarter? We were down like 8, weren't we?
Yeah.
We were down it was like 10 or 11. You don't sorry, I don't want to go down 10 in the first quarter against Boston. Sorry. Out of every team left, the Cavs are the team that could actually go down 10 points in the playoffs and win a game, or 15. I think the Cavs could go down 20 against some of these teams and still win the game. But I don't want to. I don't want to go down double digits in the first quarter even against an Indy on the road. No, I'm not. I was not a huge fan of that at all.
No, you get that crowd, you get that Indy crowd going,
yep.
and Carlisle's a hell of a coach, and Halliburton and Miles Turner, and Siakam.
Yep.
Siakam's,
Siakam loves playing us. I could tell you that.
That they are a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They are a problem
Length.
for us.
Yep.
Length so we hope that Milwaukee can somehow beat them.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if Doc Rivers is clueless, but I don't see it. But whatever there. So then let's just, I don't even want to get that far, but OKC is a freight train. Do you see weakness?
I saw weakness yesterday a little bit. Memphis, I think, is and Cavs fans always come at me. Oh, you just got to enjoy the success. You got to do I understand, but Miami's the worst team in this postseason.
Without a doubt,
call a spade a spade. They have the worst offense. Their offensive identity is like mush. It's like, there's possessions where they can't even enter the ball inside the 3-point line on some of these possessions.
They got nothing. He's got nothing to work with.
And yes, credit the Cavalier defense. No one's saying not. You have Mobley, defensive player of the year. We haven't talked about that yet. Thank God they wisened up and gave him that, the voters didn't fall for the Draymond Green podcast trap. Thank God, that to me, they talk about this and, should Congress and the House in the Senate and the House of Representatives be able to own stocks? Shit, that looked like the poly market manipulation of the defensive player of the year where it looked like insider trading to me. It looked like all the voters got together and was like, well, let's make Draymond the big favorite so we can all put money on Mobley and then vote for him. Like, who's regulating this that's all I learned from that. And yes, the defense has been good. They got this little chippiness of Hero and Garland. Garland's hurt for game 4. Whatever you make of that whole story, I think it's kind of, sure, make it a little scrappy. It's the playoffs. Talk shit about each other. I have no issue with that. My question is, just to go back a little bit, does Vegas give the Bucks any chance to win tonight? What's that? What have those lines been looking like?
Milwaukee's laying 3 and a hook.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So they're calling that series down the middle.
Yeah.
Kind of. But it's like, I don't know how you defend the Cavs. It's very difficult to hope that one of Mitchell and Garland has an off game and one of Allen and Mobley. And I know that sounds like treason because there's a lot of people a year ago who thought the core 4 couldn't work, myself being included. So I'll take the L on that one so far. But it's like Strus is like, anything from Strus is a bonus. Anything from Dean Wade is a if Okoro makes 2 or 3 threes, you're not beating us. Because Jerome has been that good. Merrill has been pretty good offensively. Allen, it's not like anybody has been. That's the thing. People go, well, what's the difference between? Everybody says, this year is the different team from last year, even though it's largely the same coaching set, change difference, whatever. Yes, that's big, but it's like, if you want to go from one big difference from last year is you're not asking Donovan Mitchell to go for 40 and 45 for us to win games. That's the big difference to me.
Yep. And he hasn't. JB would run Mitchell out there and he would run his rotation. It wouldn't matter if they were shooting 1 for 17. He would stick with that rotation and he would, and then in the playoffs. Now we will see if Atkinson shortens his rotation moving forward. It hasn't been an issue now, but Bickerstaff would tighten that butthole up and the rotation would tighten up.
Yep.
Atkinson he didn't do that all year. Now, when you're 60 something and 17, you really don't have to, but that to me has been a huge difference because if you give your bench, if you have confidence in those kids, I mean, look at Ty Jerome's getting paid, brother. That kid's getting
rich.
I mean, good for him. Or somebody is paying that kid. They're backing the Brinks truck up. I mean, sadly, it can't be. I mean, I wish
it could be. It could be here. It's unlikely to be, but it can be. If anyone's going to go into double apron, it'll be Gilbert. That's why you got to respect Gilbert. You have to, because he don't care about that. He don't care about a big tax bill. He's a top. What is he? Top 5 wealthiest owner in the league.
Yeah.
And either way, here's the thing. And it's actually interesting because Mobley gets $8 million a year. It was a $40 million increase on his bill, winning Defensive Player of the Year. It gets distributed $8 million a year. Yes. I don't know if that's traditional. I didn't look into, parallel contracts or, compare and contrast the market on if that's how that always is. But it was like 226 on the Supermax to like 260 with a Defensive Player of the Year. Yes.
Wow.
He's making in between 8 and 9 million around there starting next year because he won that award. Wow. That seems like a huge, but like my thing with Jerome now is, and this is obviously getting away from the playoffs, but you're already going to be into these aprons anyway.
Yeah.
You just paid these guys. You re-upped Allen. You got Mobley on a super max. Garland is on a max. Mitchell is on a max. This is how the cookie is going to crumble. So
yeah.
But it's
if anybody will do it. You're right. It will be Gilbert.
Or they let him walk.
I mean, the only thing is, Altman and Atkinson believe in Tyson and the other kid,
right.
Imani Bates, which I haven't seen anything. There's a lot of hype around Bates, but he's immature and blah, blah, blah. But Tyson, they definitely love that kid. But they're not really, what are they? They're small forwards, right?
Yeah, they're 2s and 3s. But I mean, this roster, like, from last year, we were just on too low of a rung last year. And then all you had to do was kick this roster in the ass a little bit. That's why people were so frustrated last year and less 2 seasons ago, but specifically last year. You just had to kick this roster in the ass to get them to move up the proverbial ladder 1 or 2 rungs. Last year, you're relying on Okoro to make shots. You're relying on Sammy Merrill to play good, and you can't have stinkers from Donovan and Mobley and Darius and Jarrett. You can't have stinkers from. You're relying on Max Strus to play good. This year, like we just talked about, all that is a bonus.
Yep.
You're not hoping Niang, develops defensive prowess at halftime. Like, come on, guys. You had Niang playing 200 minutes of basketball for this roster last playoffs. He's on there. I see him in a suit. I see him in a jacket on ESPN the other day.
Yep. That's where he belongs.
With Charles Barkley, whoever he's with. Like, come on.
And listen, and this is all a testament to Atkinson, because we sat here and you may have not said on the air, but you said to me a ton of times that this team isn't motivated because they're all young and they're all paid. Yep. They were all young and
that was going to be my concern about this season, is that they all just got paid.
They all got paid. And when they did nothing, literally did nothing, they ran it back, and all they did was fire JB and hire Kenny Atkinson, who was a retread.
Yeah.
And nobody was like, oh God, here we go. But this SOB kicked these kids in the ass. And I mean, here we are. And if not now, when? You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to hear shit, right church, wrong pew. This is it.
Yep.
This is the time. There's Boston's got flaws. There should be no reason why this team isn't playing basketball in June.
Well, hypothetically, because you're a sports investor, hypothetically, reshuffle the championship odds after round 1 concludes and the dust settles. Reshuffle the championship odds here theoretically with me. You got to think that it's even money to win it all between the Cavs and the Thunder. And Boston is either right there. It's a 3-way pot for distribution, or Boston is a little bit lower because they just lost. They just lost the game. The defending champs have lost the game before the Thunder and the Cavs, knock on wood, with game 4 pending.
But Boston still gets love because they're Boston, and there's not a lot of belief in Boston. Gets so much love in Vegas, sadly, just like New York.
Yep. That's fine. Let people, and if you want to put your money on Boston because they just, more power to you. They just got it done. Let me ask you this. Let's go all the way. Let's go full vision. Let's say we hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy. Who are you picking now to be the X factor of this roster if we go if we go all the way.
I mean, obviously, on first thing you would say would be Donovan, right? That would be the first thing that comes out of your mouth, my mouth.
Sure.
Would be Donovan Mitchell, because he is obviously, he's the glue, he's the leading scorer, he's your leader. You know, you're not self-proclaimed. Dan Gilbert has said it, tweeted it. I mean, is it Garland's team? Is it Mobley?
For me, and you're going to fall out of your seat. Maybe you won't. For me, I think it's Jerome. If Jerome keeps playing like this, I think that's when you look back in a 7-game set against Oklahoma City, God willing, you're going to say Ty Jerome, all other things considered, everybody else having to play, even Boston, let's bring even to Indy. Ty Jerome was the difference maker in this series. When it came to the other team's bench against our bench, Jerome hits shots. Jerome doesn't turn the ball over. Jerome makes free throws. Everything else, you're at a point where you are all correct. You need Mitchell to be a leader. You need Darius to be a point guard, not turn the ball over. You need Mobley to be defensive player of the year. You need Jared Allen not to be soft. I think we came to this realization last year, and then it's like you look down at even 4 through 8 last year. Sometimes, a lot of times, you're like Allen, like heebie-jeebies, won't take the rib shot, broken, whatever it may be.
He was out, right.
This year, it's like, oh man, I'd be so pissed. Imagine being even in Miami. I'd be so pissed. You're like Donovan's checking out, Mobley's checking out, and then you look over at the scorers table and Hunter and Jerome are sitting over there. You're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I know the platitudes and it feels like the 15, 16, 17 Warriors. It does. There's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Where you're like, what the hell is Sean Livingston doing going for 30 on you? It's a little bit like that. It's not quite like that because that's a once in a lifetime franchise, but it's getting there.
Yep. And here's the thing. I could see they have the confidence in Jerome. Jerome has the confidence in himself. And I remember, honest to God, when we got him from Golden State, they were all bent out of shape. Yep. And I was laughing then. We may have talked about it or something. And like Ty Jerome, and he didn't do shit the first year. His foot was, foot was hurt, blah, 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 blah. But now it's coming, it's paying its dividends.
Yep.
I hope you are correct. And now when you look at this team today and you look back at some of the teams that LeBron took deep.
Yep.
I mean, it is utterly amazing what LeBron did with some of these teams and how he did it. I mean, it's staggering because there's guys that but
LeBron by himself had a season with a better record than this team. And people want to say Jordan, like, no, come on. And obviously biased, but you saw him, you were alive for both of them. So you have a unique perspective, but it's like, this team won all these games and Evan Mobley and Darius Garland are fighting to be the second option. That LeBron team, Damon Jones was the second option.
Oh my God.
Drew, like you were hoping Drew Gooden made a couple of shots.
Right.
Eric Snow, please don't do anything stupid.
Danielle Marshall.
Yes. It's like some of these second options that LeBron has played with in his career, like Booby deep. Yeah, exactly. Booby. Like, can Delonte West make a shot? LeBron is out. Who's going to make a shot? Oh, good.
Right. Yes.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. And I'll tell you this, that whole bullshit, the GOAT, Michael and LeBron tarnishes himself with some of his antics.
Sure.
And his laying on the floor and that. But to me, to me, the man is an absolute the way his body is, the way he plays. I mean, it's a different game. He's to me, he's, in my opinion, he's the GOAT. Jordan was a machine. Jordan put up a lot of points, blah, 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 blah. But to me, it's LeBron. Character wise and all that other shit, different story. But
sure.
That's just to me.
Before we wrap up here, I want to get game 4 thoughts and then who you think we're going to see in the second round. I think that'll maybe be easy. But just to show you what we were talking about earlier, I mean, the Kaseya Center tickets as low as $24. I mean, this is embarrassing. You can't even walk into the Hairy Buffalo in downtown Cleveland when the Cavs are in a playoff game for $24.
Nope.
You can't even get in the building. $24.
You can't go to a Guardians game for $24.
No, golly,
I
know
listen,
it's crazy.
You're down 3-0. Okay, they know they're done.
Literally,
it's probably 85 and sunny tomorrow. And how many people are going to be lining up at the Kaseya Center? We got a better chance of flying people. They should fly people in.
Gilbert should. Hey, who's off tomorrow? I'll go down there. Hell
yeah.
I think we finish up with a sweep, and I think we play Indiana.
Oh, me too. I mean, Indiana would have to. Yes, we have to win tomorrow.
Yep.
There's no way that we could stub our toe, unless God forbid the wheels fall off. But I don't see that happening. We put them down tomorrow. Indiana. I would like to see Milwaukee because Doc Rivers is a buffoon. And they're easier to beat. Indiana will give us a handful. And Indiana could go 6 or 7, sadly.
Fair enough. Well, it's got to be a 2-hour podcast. Longest.
It's a marathon.
Loved it. Needed it to happen. Final thoughts here. Cleveland sports, big weekend. Anything else before we sign off here?
Listen, this was great to get back in the air. We didn't even talk to Guardians. The Guardians are hanging around.
Sure.
It's early in the season. We'll get back with them. I'm sure the Browns will always have a lot to talk about. Hopefully we can keep doing this as the Cavs, trickle along. If they matriculate in the playoffs, hopefully we could keep this going. Cavs have to win tomorrow. Keep your eye on the Pacers. And thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. If you're still tuned in, thanks for coming along with the ride. Might be talking to the walls and ourselves, but that's
absolutely
fine. That's fine. Doesn't matter. It's all for the love of the game and the love of the conversation. Absolutely. That being said, hit the like button, subscribe down below, comment. Should we do more 2+ hour podcasts? We'll run it up. We'll get the news articles ready. We'll find time.
Absolutely.
Uncle, with all that being said, appreciate you guys being the pulse of it all. Peace.